If you ever have to go in a pasture with multiple horses like these guys over here, you really need to be aware of who tends to move whose feet. And if you were around one of the ones whose feet tends to get moved and one of the mover of the feet comes closer, you better be aware of which side that horse you're on. Hey Bodie, how's it going? Are you good? You know, let's say Bodie here, he hangs out with Sherlock here, who's the king of the clan here. And if one of those other horses came over here, like Chance might now, you'll probably see what might happen here is Sherlock over there might come over to run Chance off. And so I have to be aware of the fact that I'm way over here and Sherlock's way over there. But he protects this horse all the time. So if here comes Chance. So if Chance comes over here, you might find that Sherlock over there starts coming over this way. We're going to get a horse in the camera here in a second. Hello, Chancey. He might come over and move Chance. And if I was on this side of Chance, not noticing that Sherlock was coming from that side, you could easily get run over. So for me, I would stand on this side here so that if Sherlock came over to run like that, run Chance off. Hey Chancey, if he came over to run Chance off, Chance would have somewhere to go to. And being around horses, it's really important that you're always aware of where they might go next, especially in a herd. Like with one horse, it's easy, but especially in a herd. Something I see a lot of people doing is leading a horse from the left side, which is traditional, and the horse is spooking at something over there. And they get into this big old wrestle and they set themselves up to get run over. Whereas the easiest thing to do would be to switch sides like this and be on the same side as the scary thing. So there's going to be a few purposes get served here. One of them is if this horse spooks at that thing, he's going to spook away from me. But another part of that is think about leadership with horses. So here comes Rupert. Him and Chance are good friends, so I don't really have to be on alert that Rupert's going to make Chance move and I'm going to get run over. But I did come around this side anyway. You know, you think about leadership with horses. A lot of people think it's about being the boss, being in charge or whatever. But a leader makes decisions for the good of the herd. And in a herd situation, if a herd was moving past something that was maybe scary or dangerous or whatever, the leader would position themselves between the danger and the rest of the herd. And so it's the same thing when you're leading a horse past a scary object and the scary object's on that side, not only is changing sides over here making it so you're probably not going to get run over, Rupert's trying to sniff the camera, that you're not going to get run over, but you're also showing good leadership skills. You're kind of telling the horse, I will get between you and the scary thing. Does that make sense there? So, and think about the saying, make the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy. And everybody seems to think a bit like leadership. They think leadership's about being the boss and making the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy. They tend to think it's about punishment for doing the wrong thing. But think about this. If you're leading a horse and they're going to spook at something and you don't want them to run over you, running over you would be the wrong thing. If I switch sides, so the scary thing's over here, him running over me right now would be really hard for him to do because he's not going to go towards the scary thing, he's going to go away from it. So you're just setting the situation up to where the thing you don't want to happen, which would be getting run over, is very hard to do. He's not going to spook towards the scary thing, he's going to spook away from it. But that's something I see a lot with, like I said, people with horses is they're leading their horse past something scary and they stay on the one side and then try to stop the horse from running over him, which, you know, if you think about it in herd dynamics, you're basically saying, no, you get between me and the scary thing. Does that make sense there? So there's a lot involved in, probably the point I'm trying to make here is you need to be aware of where your horse might go next all the time. And when you are in a herd of horses like this, you kind of need to be aware of who's going to go where next. And, you know, the more horses there are, the more chaos there could be. So you just have to be very aware of, hello, Vanda. You have to be very aware of who's who, where they where they happen to be in the herd. Do they move other horses around? Do they get moved around easily? Who they like, who they don't like. Chances of putting his head in the camera there. Who they like, who they don't like, and all those sorts of things to keep yourself safe in herds of horses. You know, I hear a lot of stories about people like, oh, I was out another day and I got run over. One horse pinned his ears at the other one and he spooked sideways, and you know, that's probably just not being aware of what might happen next, where your horse might go next. You know, it's really no different than defensive driving. If you've ever been to a defensive driving course, they tell you to, when you drive along, always, hello Jancy, always have, if something went down right now, where would my out be? Where would my out be? And so being around horses, and especially herds of horses, you really have to be aware of that. Here comes Sherlock over here, so he's probably going to come over and move somebody's feet. And you might notice he probably won't have to do much like that. Did you see that right there? Sherlock exudes that quiet energy. He's kind of the leader, but he's not a braggart. He doesn't make big movements. He doesn't do much at all. He just wanders over. But you saw Bandar here went, oh, Sherlock's coming, I need to move out of the way. So yeah, just be aware of who's who and what's what. And the big point I'm trying to make is be aware of where your horse might go next and make sure you're not there. Hey, Fancy.